Hey guys, you know the brilliant thing about 80s cartoons were that they did not shy away from the big subjects, and this episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe did just that. And on a personal note, this had occurred with me because a few years back I ended up in a position where I was slightly dependent on prescription painkillers, and that took me a year and a half to pretty much detox off, and about another year after that there to actually get my system in a place where it didn't need them. So this episode really did hit home for me. Let's get into it. Guys, welcome back to Coins Age Media. I am Rodney Stewart, your host, and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This episode is called A Friend in Need. As I said before the intro, the big subjects, 80s cartoons did not shy away from this stuff. And, you know, I haven't really seen anything as far as this kind of subject matter. And things where it really should be. You know, people tend to really do shy away from the big subjects, I guess. And, you know, the whole PC culture thing is just, you know, at the point now where everybody is scared to talk about anything. And you know what? Wasn't the case in the 80s. At the beginning of A Friend in Need, Teela's friend Ileena comes to the palace with her father Zikran, and he is an inventor. He's created a machine called the Transmutator that can pretty much change any substance into anything he wants. In the episode they demonstrate that by turning wood into gold and back again. There's an escaped prisoner by the name of Jarvan, who has escaped the prison mines, and he's on the loose, and he's out for revenge because King Randor and He-Man were responsible for originally capturing him and imprisoning him. So Teela and Ileena are out horse riding. He ambushes them in a geyser field, and Ileena is timid and weak, and she gets scared. She can't get out. Teela goes back to rescue her. She gets knocked unconscious, and He-Man comes to the rescue. I'm cutting a lot of stuff out of this episode because I don't want to destroy it completely for you. Definitely go and check this one out. This is amazing, this episode. But he rescues him, takes him back to the palace, and Jarvan realises that Ileena is blaming herself for not being brave enough to rescue Teela and had to depend on someone to come to the rescue. And he takes this opportunity to disguise himself as an old woman and gives her this magic potion, and he's like, this stuff will make you feel any way you want. So she takes it, and she gets brave for a while, and you know, she gets herself into trouble quite a few times in the episode because of this potion, and almost, well, kills Prince Adam at one point whenever she takes her father's sky car for a joyride with Prince Adam as a passenger, and he gets knocked out of it in the sky and he's fallen to his doom. But of course Prince Adam is indeed He-Man, so he transforms into He-Man, saves himself and Ileena. The old woman / Jarvan comes back and gives her a second dose of this potion, and you know, of course there's going to be a third time that she needs the potion, but he refuses the third dose, and she, I should say, still disguised as the old woman. He's like, if you want more of this potion, you're going to have to get me the transmutator device. She doesn't want to do it, but her body is getting dependent on this potion, so reluctantly she gives it to him. And he refuses, of course. He's like, I don't need your help anymore, so you're not getting any more potion. And he disappears, reveals himself as Jarvan, disappears with the device. And yes, then we're set up for the big confrontation. And at the end of this episode, there's no Skeletor or any of the regular villains in this episode, by the way. It's all Jarvan. So He-Man has to face off against Jarvan with this device, and Jarvan turns it on the palace and tries to shrink it, and He-Man has to run into the centre of the palace and try to stop it from closing in on the king, the queen, Man-at-Arms, Teela, all the heroes. And he manages to do that there, and when he does, it kind of feeds back the power of the device in itself and destroys it, but Jarvan makes his escape. But the undoing of Jarvan in this episode is when he was posing as the old woman earlier in the episode, he gave Ileena a magic ring where she could, say some words over it and it would summon him at any point, and that's how they undo him at the end of this episode. She uses the ring to call him back to the palace, and there's a final confrontation between him and He-Man, but he's using some of his magic, and he manages to kind of stop He-Man in his tracks for a bit, and the person that actually does manage to trip him up at the very end, get him recaptured again, is Ileena herself. She overcomes her fear by fighting him down herself and just stopping him long enough for He-Man to come in and restrain him. So by the end of the episode, Ileena conquers her own fears, and she apologises because she's like, he gave me this magic potion and I needed more of it, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, sort of thing. And He-Man is like, do you know what, he made you dependent on this stuff, you're lucky you didn't take any more of it, or you'd have been facing down some real problems. So that's kind of pretty much where the episode finishes off at. Jarvan is captured, sent back to the mines, and we kind of face down the fact that Ileena was basically addicted to drugs in this episode, and that is the PSA, the public service announcement at the end of the episode. Always looking forward to these here. He-Man himself comes on the screen and he's like, in this week's episode, Ileena took a magic potion that she thought would help her, but that was not the case. She ended up being dependent on this stuff, and if you take drugs from anyone other than your parents or your doctor, you're looking for trouble. And he's like, you're not just gambling with your own health but your life as well, and taking drugs does not stop your problems, it just creates more. Absolutely epic little episode, and I did say I didn't want to really destroy it for you, but I kind of did in this review. But it's that good. Even though you've watched this here, I've give you pretty much everything that happens in the episode. That's not an incredible detail. This is definitely worth watching if you know someone that is in a similar situation to this character. This is definitely a great episode to show them, and even for your own children. Like, as I said earlier in the review, these days, like with PC culture and whatnot, we're afraid to talk about really anything these days because everyone's just looking for an excuse to get offended. And this episode here probably would be one of these things where people would kick off if this was shown on television today. But it is an important subject and something that children should really be learning about early. And as I did say at the very beginning of this episode, I can remember this episode from my childhood. I was coming home from primary school. I was only in school about two years at the point this originally aired on television, and I myself quite recently actually had to deal with my body being dependent on pretty much opioids because of painkillers given to me by my doctor. So, you know, even though my doctor prescribed painkillers for me, my body still become dependent on them. And yes, learn from my mistakes. I make mistakes, so you don't have to. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please hit that subscription button and don't forget to press that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Please get into the description box below this video and check out my social media links down there and check out all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.